The massive alien ships dropped out of hyperspace like dark clouds blocking the sun. Admiral Korath stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth spin slowly below. The blue and green planet looked peaceful, almost pretty. He had seen thousands of worlds like this one. Most of them surrendered within hours. "Another primitive world," said Captain Vral, studying the data screens. "They barely have spaceflight. Their technology is centuries behind ours." Oth nodded. The Galactic Coalition had done this dance many times before. They would arrive, show their power, demand surrender, and collect tribute. It was simple and effective. No species had ever refused them for long. Begin the standard protocol. Korath ordered, "Send the surrender message." The communication beam reached Earth's governments within minutes. The message was clear and direct. Surrender now or face destruction. The Coalition had sent the same message to over 3,000 worlds. Every single one had given up without a real fight. But Earth was different. Ambassador David Walsh sat in the emergency meeting room in Geneva. World leaders filled the screens around him, all waiting for his response. He was a calm man with gray hair and steady eyes. He had been preparing for this moment his entire career. "Gentlemen, ladies," Walsh said quietly, "we knew this day would come. We have been ready for 50 years. On the screens, presidents and prime ministers nodded. They all knew the plan. Earth had been watching the galaxy for decades, learning, preparing, waiting. Walsh opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. His voice was polite but firm when he spoke. "Admiral Korath, welcome to the Sol System. We have received your message. We respectfully decline your offer. Please leave our space." On the alien flagship, the bridge fell silent. Captain Vral blinked his large eyes in confusion. "Did they just refuse us?" Korath almost smiled. "It seems they did. How amusing. These primitives think they can stand against the Coalition. Shall we destroy them now?" Vral asked, his hand moving toward the weapons console. "No," Korath said, waving a clawed hand.
"Let them think about it.
Give them 72 hours to change their minds. When they see our full power, they will beg for mercy." The alien fleet took position around Earth. Massive battleships and cruisers formed a blockade that could be seen from the planet's surface. Their weapons could turn continents to glass. Their shields could stop any weapon these primitive humans might have asked, or so they thought, in the hidden command center beneath the Colorado mountains. General Patricia Kim watched the alien deployment on dozens of screens. She was a small woman with sharp features and cold eyes. She had spent 20 years planning for this exact scenario. "They are positioning exactly where we predicted," she told her staff. "Formation Delta 7, just like they used at Kepler. And Centauri?" "All forces are in position," reported Colonel Stone. "The Nevada facility is ready." Kim nodded. The Nevada base was perfect bait. It looked like an important military installation, but it was actually empty except for automated systems and recording equipment. The aliens would attack it to show their power, and when they did, Earth would learn everything about their weapons and tactics. The 72 hours passed slowly. Around Earth, people went about their normal lives, but everyone knew what was happening. The news showed the alien ships hanging in space like sleeping giants. Some people were afraid. Others were angry. Most were simply ready. When the deadline arrived, Walsh sent another message to Admiral Korath. "Our answer remains the same. Leave our space." This time, Korath was not amused. "You have chosen destruction over wisdom. Watch as we demonstrate the fate of all who defy the Coalition." The alien fleet moved toward Earth, massive energy weapons charged with light that could be seen from orbit. Target locks focused on the Nevada facility, which intelligence reports claimed was Earth's primary military command center. The attack was devastating. Beams of pure energy struck the base, turning sand to glass and metal to vapor. The explosions lit up the desert sky. When the smoke cleared, nothing remained but a perfectly circular crater 5 miles wide. On the alien flagship, the crew cheered. Another world would join the Coalition through force, as so many had before. But something was wrong, Admiral Captain Vral said, studying his instruments with growing concern. The humans are not responding as expected. What do you mean? Korath demanded. Their communications are too calm. Their military frequencies show no panic, and Vral paused, checking his readings again. Their technology signatures are not matching our initial scans. In the hidden command center, General Kim smiled for the first time in days. Perfect. Did you get everything? Yes, ma'am, replied her chief analyst. Complete recordings of their weapon signatures, shield frequencies, and formation patterns. We know exactly how their systems work now. They know nothing about ours, Kim said. Send the activation signal. Across the solar system, objects that had appeared to be simple communication satellites suddenly came alive. Their outer shells fell away, revealing advanced weapon platforms that had been hiding in plain sight for decades. At the same time, what looked like civilian transport ships throughout the system dropped their disguises, showing sleek military vessels underneath. On the alien flagship, warning alarms screamed. Admiral Varel shouted, "We have multiple hostile contacts." They were hiding their true capabilities. That! Korath stared at the tactical display in shock. Where moments before they had seen a defenseless world, now they faced a prepared and organized military force. The humans had not just been watching, they had been planning. How is this possible? He whispered. The answer came in the form of energy beams more advanced than anything in the Coalition arsenal. Human weapons struck the alien ships with surgical precision, targeting weak points that should have been unknown to a primitive species. Admiral Korath realized. It's too late. That Earth had picked them as much as they had picked Earth, the humans. Had been ready for this fight long before the Coalition arrived. The galaxy had indeed picked the wrong planet to poke. The first human weapon struck the Coalition fleet before Admiral Korath could even give orders to return fire. Bright energy beams cut through space, hitting alien ships with deadly accuracy. The attacks were not random or desperate. They were planned, coordinated, and devastatingly effective. Shields up. All ships return fire, Korath shouted, but his crew was already moving. The massive alien vessels turned their weapons toward the hidden human platforms, but something was wrong. The human ships were faster than they should be, their weapons more powerful than Coalition intelligence had reported, Commander. Lisa Torres stood on the bridge of the human battleship Defiance, watching the alien fleet struggle to respond to their attack. She was a tall woman with dark hair and calm eyes that missed nothing. She had trained for this battle her entire career. Target their command ship, she ordered. Full spread, concentrated fire. The Defiance and 6 other human battleships opened fire together. Their weapons were not just copies of alien technology, they were better. 50 years of secret research had given humanity an edge that the Coalition never expected. The energy. Beams struck Admiral Korath's flagship, and alarms screamed across the bridge. Shields at 60%, Captain Vrau reported, his voice tight with fear. How are their weapons this strong? It does not matter, Korath snarled. We outnumber them 10-1. All ships, concentrate fire on their largest vessel. The Coalition fleet turned their massive guns on the Defiance. Hundreds of energy beams converged on the human ship, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But when the light faded, the human battleship was still there, its shields glowing but holding firm. Impossible, Vral whispered. Nothing should survive that kind of attack. Commander Torres smiled grimly. Their turn, she said. All ships, execute Pattern 7. The human fleet scattered in different directions, moving faster than the alien ships could track. They had studied Coalition tactics for decades, learning from intercepted communications and captured data. Every move the aliens made had been anticipated and countered. From hidden bases on Mars and the asteroid belt, more human ships emerged. What the Coalition had thought was a small defensive force was actually a massive fleet that had been waiting in ambush. Transport ships revealed heavy weapons. Mining platforms showed their true nature as mobile fortresses, and even civilian stations opened fire with military-grade weapons. We walked into a trap, Captain Vral said, his voice hollow with shock. Admiral. Korath refused to accept defeat. Signal the regional command. Request immediate reinforcements. We face an organized military resistance. Yes, sir, the communications officer replied. Reinforcements will arrive in 6 hours. But the humans were listening to every word in the Colorado Command Center. General Kim received the intercepted message with satisfaction. They are calling for help, she told her staff. How many ships? 3 full battle groups replied. Her intelligence officer, 200 ships total. Perfect, Kim said. Send the coordinates to all units. Prepare ambush site 7. The reinforcements arrived exactly when expected, dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Admiral Zenth commanded the rescue fleet, confident that his massive force would crush whatever primitive resistance the humans could offer. Where is Admiral Korath? He demanded. His fleet is engaged around the 3rd planet, his aide reported. Heavy fighting, but they are holding position. Zenth nodded, moved to assist them. These humans will learn what happens when they defy the Coalition. But as his fleet moved toward Earth, space around them suddenly filled with explosions. Hidden mines, planted months ago along the hyperspace routes, detonated in perfect sequence. The alien ships found themselves flying through a carefully prepared kill zone. Human ships appeared from behind asteroids and moons, their weapons already locked on target. The reinforcements had arrived exactly where the humans wanted them. Far from Earth and surrounded by prepared positions, Admiral Zenth watched in horror as his lead ships exploded under concentrated human fire. This is impossible. How did they know we were coming? The answer was simple but devastating. Humanity had been intercepting Coalition communications for years. Every message, every tactical plan, every movement order had been recorded and analyzed. The aliens had no secrets left. Commander Torres led the assault on the reinforcement fleet, while her ship's weapons cut through alien shields like they were made of paper. The human weapons used principles that the Coalition had never discovered, focusing energy in ways that made their attacks far more effective than they should be. Their shields are down to 20%, her weapons officer reported. Target their engines, Torres ordered. We want prisoners, not wreckage. The battle raged for 4 hours. When it ended, half of the Coalition reinforcement fleet was destroyed, and the rest were surrendering. Admiral Zenth himself was captured when his command ship's life support failed. Back at Earth, Admiral Korath faced a similar fate. His original fleet was being systematically destroyed or captured by human forces that seemed to know exactly where to strike. Every weakness in Coalition ship design was being exploited with surgical precision. Admiral Captain Vrel said quietly, "We should surrender. We have lost 60% of our ships." Korath stared at the tactical display, watching his powerful fleet being torn apart by an enemy he had underestimated completely. How could we have been so wrong about them? The answer came from an unexpected source. A human communication reached his ship, and David Walsh appeared on the main screen. The ambassador looked tired, but determined. "Admiral Korath," Walsh said calmly, "we have been watching your Coalition for 50 years. We knew you would come. Eventually, we prepared accordingly." "This is impossible," Korath protested. "You are a primitive species. You should not have this technology." Walsh smiled sadly. "We learned from you. Every signal you broadcast, every ship you sent to nearby systems, every piece of technology you used, we studied it all. We knew that any species capable of crossing space would probably be hostile. So we got ready." The human ambassador paused, looking directly at Korath through the screen. "You made one critical mistake, Admiral. You assumed that because we seemed primitive, we actually were primitive. You never considered that we might be hiding our true capabilities." "What do you want?" Korath asked, his voice defeated. Surrender," Walsh replied simply. "And information about your Coalition. You see, Admiral, this is just the beginning. You have shown us that the galaxy is full of predators. We intend to do something about that." Admiral Korath looked around his damaged bridge, at his defeated crew, at the tactical display showing his destroyed fleet. The humans had not just won a battle. They had revealed that everything the Coalition thought they knew about warfare was wrong. The galaxy had indeed picked the wrong planet to poke, and now the consequences would spread far beyond Earth's solar system. The news of the Coalition's defeat at Earth spread through the galaxy like wildfire. For the first time in centuries, a species had not only resisted the Coalition, but had completely destroyed their forces. In the council chambers on Zentara Prime, the ruling species gathered in emergency session. High Counselor Vash, tall alien with blue-gray skin and multiple arms, addressed the assembly with growing concern. The human problem is worse than we initially believed. They have captured our ships, our technology, and our personnel. Worse, they are using our own hyperspace routes against us. The evidence was undeniable. Human ships had been spotted throughout Coalition space, appearing where they should not exist, striking targets they should not know about. The primitives of Earth had become hunters, and the galaxy was their hunting ground. Captain Marcus Reed stood in the captured Coalition ship, Dark Star, studying the alien technology around him. He was a lean man with sharp features and cold eyes that revealed nothing of his thoughts. His team of human commandos had spent weeks learning to operate the alien vessel, and now they moved through Coalition space like ghosts. Next target is the supply depot at Kepler 7, Reed told his crew. Intelligence says they store weapons and ammunition for 12 star systems there. His lieutenant, a young woman named Collins, checked her equipment. The station has minimal defenses. They never expected anyone to attack their supply lines. Reed smiled grimly. They are learning that the galaxy is not as safe as they thought. The Dark Star dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler 7. Its Coalition identification code's still valid. The supply station's traffic control contacted them immediately. Coalition vessel Dark Star, you are not scheduled for this sector. State your business. Emergency supply run, Reed replied, using the alien language perfectly. We have priority cargo from Zentara Prime. Understood. Proceed to docking bay 7. The human team moved through the station like they belonged there. They had studied Coalition procedures from captured personnel, learning how the aliens operated their facilities. Within 2 hours, they had planted explosives throughout the supply depot and copied all the station's data files. The explosion could be seen from 3 star systems away. 12 Coalition fleets suddenly found themselves without ammunition, food, or spare parts. But worse than the destruction was the message it sent. Nowhere in Coalition space was safe anymore. On the hidden world of refuge, former Coalition slaves watched the news with growing hope. The planet had been conquered decades ago, its people forced to work in the mines that fed the Coalition war machine. But now, everything was changing. Elder Kren, leader of the refuge resistance, received a message that changed everything. Humans are offering us weapons, he told the gathered rebels. Modern weapons, enough to free our world. Can we trust them? Asked his lieutenant Dara. They destroyed 2 Coalition fleets, Kren replied. They are striking military targets throughout the galaxy. They are doing what we never could. The human supply ships arrived at night, bringing weapons more advanced than anything the Coalition possessed. Along with the guns came human advisors, men and women who had studied Coalition tactics and knew their weaknesses. Your people have been fighting for years, the human advisor, a woman named Martinez, told the rebels. You know the terrain, the enemy positions, the patrol schedules. We can give you the tools to win. Within days, the revolution on refuge began. Coalition forces found themselves facing weapons they could not match, tactics they could not counter, and enemies who knew their every move. The planet fell to the rebels in less than a week, but refuge was just the beginning. Across the galaxy, human agents made contact with resistance movements, oppressed species, anyone who wanted to break free from Coalition rule. The humans did not seek to conquer these worlds. Instead, they offered something the Coalition never had: choice. Join us willingly, the human messages said, and we will help you build a better future. Stay free. Govern yourselves, trade with whom you choose. All we ask is that you help others find the same freedom. The response was overwhelming. Species that had suffered under Coalition rule for generations suddenly had hope. Worlds that had been strip-mined and enslaved began to fight back. The Coalition's grip on the galaxy started to slip, In the council chambers on Zentara Prime, High Counselor Vash faced a crisis unlike any in Coalition history. "We have lost contact with 47 worlds," he announced to the shocked assembly. "Rebellion is spreading faster than we can respond." "How is this possible?" demanded Counselor Thek, representing the warrior caste. "These are primitive worlds with no military power." "They have human support," Vash replied grimly. "Weapons, advisors, and something we never gave them: hope." The Coalition military was in chaos. Their supply lines were constantly under attack. Their communications were being intercepted, and their own captured ships were being used against them. Worse, some Coalition species were beginning to question whether the Empire was worth preserving. General Desubicum stood in the war room on Earth, watching the tactical display that showed human operations across the galaxy. Red dots marked Coalition positions, blue dots showed human forces, and green dots indicated liberated worlds. The green was spreading faster than anyone had expected. "The Zentari sector has requested negotiations," her aide reported. "They want to surrender their entire fleet in exchange for independence." Kim nodded. "Accept their terms. Sure, they understand that freedom comes with responsibility. They will need to help protect other worlds seeking liberation." Commander Torres entered the room, still wearing her battle armor from the latest engagement. "The Coalition's Fifth Fleet just surrendered without a fight." Her admiral said his crew refused to attack civilian targets. "Good," Kim said. "How many Coalition officers have we turned so far?" "Over 300, Torres replied. "Most of them are from species that were conquered by the Coalition themselves. And once they realize we are not trying to build another empire, they become very cooperative." The tide of war had turned completely. What had started as a Coalition attempt to conquer Earth had become a galactic revolution. The humans had proven that the Coalition was not invincible, and that knowledge was spreading faster than any military force could stop it. On a distant world called Haven, former Coalition Admiral Nash sat in a human prison camp, but it was unlike any prison he had ever seen. The guards were polite, the food was good, and the prisoners were treated with dignity. Some of his fellow officers had already asked to join the human cause. "Why do you treat us so well?" Nash asked his human guard, a young man named Roberts. "Because you are not our enemies," Roberts replied. "The Coalition system is our enemy. You were just following orders, serving something you believed in. We understand that." Nash considered this. "What happens when you win? Do you become the new Coalition?" Roberts shook his head. "We go home. We have no interest in ruling the galaxy. Just want to make sure no one else tries to conquer it either." For the first time in his life, Admiral Nash began to understand what freedom actually meant. He was not the only one. The galaxy was changing. The Coalition was learning too late that they had indeed picked the wrong planet to poke. The humans were not just winning battles, they were winning hearts and minds. Offering something the Coalition had never provided, a future where every species could determine its own destiny. The revolution had begun, and there was no stopping it now. The Coalition Council met in emergency session for the 5th time in 2 months. High Counselor Vash looked older than his 800 years as he addressed the desperate assembly. Half the seats were empty. Their representatives had either fled or joined the growing rebellion against Coalition rule. "We have lost 2/3 of our territory," Vash announced, his voice hollow with defeat. "The humans are not just winning battles. They're destroying everything we built over 1,000 years." Counselor Thek slammed his armored fist on the table. "How is this possible? They are one species from one small world. We control thousands of systems with billions of soldiers." The answer came from an unexpected source. A holographic display activated, showing Strategic Commander Tom Harrison of Earth's Hidden Military Command. Harrison was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much war. He had spent 50 years preparing for this moment. "Because you never understood what you were fighting," Harrison said calmly. "You thought Earth was one divided world with primitive technology? You were wrong on both counts." The Coalition counselors stared at the human commander in shock. Number enemy had ever addressed their council directly. No one had ever dared. "Impossible," Vash whispered. "Our intelligence showed you were barely capable of spaceflight. Your people fought each other constantly. Your technology was centuries behind. Ours, Harrison smiled grimly. That was the idea. We have been monitoring your coalition for 60 years, ever since our deep space telescopes detected your first ships. We knew that any species capable of interstellar travel would probably be hostile, so we prepared. The truth was devastating. In its simplicity, Earth's apparent primitive state had been a carefully constructed lie. The wars, the divided governments, the struggling technology, all of it had been an elaborate deception designed to hide humanity's true capabilities. Every signal you sent into space, we intercepted, Harrison continued. Every ship you dispatched to nearby systems, we tracked. Every piece of technology you used, we studied and improved upon. By the time you arrived at Earth, we knew more about your military than you did. Counselor Drek, one of the few remaining loyalists, demanded answers. What about your divided world governments, your constant conflicts? Theodore Harrison replied simply, One world government has existed on Earth for 70 years. Every apparent conflict was carefully staged to maintain the illusion of a primitive divided species. Meanwhile, our real military was building ships and weapons in hidden facilities. Throughout the solar system, the revelation hit the coalition leaders like a physical blow. They had been outmaneuvered from the very beginning by a species they had dismissed as barely worth conquering. We have been intercepting our communications for decades, Vash realized. You knew we were coming. We knew you were coming before you decided to come, Harrison confirmed. We have agents in your government, your military, even your intelligence services. Some of your own people have been working for us for years. The implications were staggering. Humans had been infiltrating coalition society for decades, then everything the aliens thought they knew about their own empire might be wrong. On the coalition capital world of Zentara Prime, riots had begun in the lower city districts. Species that had been conquered and enslaved by the coalition now saw hope for freedom. The human revolution was not just military, it was spreading through every level of coalition society. General Patricia Kim stood in her command center on Earth, watching the chaos unfold across coalition space. Reports flowed in from dozens of worlds where local populations were rising against their oppressors. The revolution was succeeding beyond their wildest hopes. The Kepler system just declared independence, her aide reported. Their entire defense fleet has joined our cause. What about the mining worlds in the Outer Rim? Kim asked. Free as of this morning? The coalition garrison surrendered without firing a shot? Kim nodded with satisfaction. The plan was working perfectly. Earth had never intended to conquer the galaxy. Instead, they had chosen to liberate it, offering freedom to any species willing to fight for it. The strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of replacing the coalition with another empire, humanity was helping every world govern itself. Free species were more willing to fight, more creative in their tactics, and more determined to win. The coalition faced not one enemy, but thousands, each fighting for their own independence. Commander Torres returned from her latest mission with news that changed everything. We have captured the coalition's main shipyard at Vega Station, she reported, along with their chief engineer and all the construction data. Excellent, Kim replied. What did we learn? Their ships are built with a fatal flaw, Torres explained. The power systems are designed to shut down if they receive a specific signal. It was meant to prevent rebellion by conquered species, but now we can use it against them. Within hours, human technicians had analyzed the captured data and created the shutdown signal. When they broadcast it across coalition space, hundreds of alien warships simply stopped working. Entire fleets found themselves floating helplessly as their own safety systems turned against them. The end came faster than anyone expected. On Zentara Prime, High Counselor Vash faced a choice between surrender and the complete destruction of his civilization. Human ships had surrounded the capital world, but they were not alone. Ships from dozens of liberated species had joined them, all united in their desire for freedom. What are your terms? Vash asked during the final communication with Commander. Harrison, simple, Harrison replied. Dissolve the coalition, release all conquered worlds, allow every species to choose their own government. In return, we will help you build something better, a voluntary federation where membership brings benefits instead of oppression. Vosh looked around the empty council chamber. Most of his supporters had already fled or changed sides. Great coalition that had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years was crumbling. Not because of military defeat, but because its subjects had finally found hope. And if we refuse, Vash asked, then you will face every species you ever oppressed, Harrison said quietly. We will not conquer you, counselor. We will simply step aside and let your former slaves decide your fate. The threat was clear. Humanity had not just defeated the coalition militarily, they had turned the entire galaxy against them. World that had suffered under coalition rule now had the weapons and support to take their revenge. High Counselor Vash made the only choice he could. We surrender, he said simply. The galaxy held its breath as the news spread. Years of oppression, the coalition had fallen. But what would replace it was not another empire, but something unprecedented. A galaxy where every species could determine its own destiny. The tables had not just turned, it had been completely rebuilt, and humanity had shown the galaxy what true freedom looked like. 5 years after the fall of the coalition, the galaxy was a different place. Admiral Lisa Torres stood on the observation deck of the Federation flagship Unity, watching the construction of a new space station above the world of New Haven. The station was being built by workers from 12 different species, all cooperating on a project that would benefit everyone. Hard to believe how much has changed, said Captain Mills, Torres' second in command. He was a former coalition officer who had joined the human cause after seeing what real freedom looked like. Torres nodded. The galaxy is finally learning to work together instead of against each other. The transformation had not been easy. When the coalition fell, chaos had threatened to consume entire star systems. Some species wanted revenge against their former oppressors. Others had no idea how to govern themselves after centuries of slavery. Pirates and warlords had tried to fill the power vacuum left by the coalition's collapse, but humanity had been ready for this challenge too. Instead of imposing their own rule, they had helped each world find its own path to freedom. The process had been slow, sometimes frustrating, but ultimately successful. Ambassador David Walsh sat in the Federation Assembly on Zentara Prime, the same world that had once been the coalition capital. The Great Council Chamber had been rebuilt with seats for representatives from over 300 worlds. But unlike the old coalition council, these representatives were chosen by their own people, not appointed by conquerors. The motion to establish the Deep Space Exploration Initiative passes by unanimous vote, Walsh announced. The Federation will fund joint exploration missions to the galaxy's outer rim. The applause was genuine, something that would have been impossible under coalition rule. These worlds were working together because they wanted to, not because they were forced to. After the assembly, Walsh met with former High Counselor Vosh in the gardens outside the building. The old alien looked much healthier than he had during the coalition's final days. Freedom, it seemed, agreed with him. Your people have done something remarkable, Vash said, watching children from different species play together in the garden. You could have conquered us all, but instead, you taught us to conquer ourselves. Walsh smiled. Conquest was never our goal. We just wanted to be left alone. When that became impossible, we decided to make sure no one else would face what we faced, and now? Vosh asked. Now we go home, Walsh replied. Earth has done its part. The galaxy can take care of itself. But Earth's role in galactic affairs was far from over. The humans had become the galaxy's teachers, showing other species how to build democratic governments, how to resolve conflicts without war, and how to work together for mutual benefit. On the mining world of Refuge, Elder Kren addressed his people as they celebrated the 5th anniversary of their liberation. The mines that had once been worked by slaves now employed free workers who shared in the profits. The planet's resources were being used to build schools and hospitals instead of weapons. We must never forget what we learned, Kren told the crowd. Freedom is not a gift. It is a responsibility. We must guard it carefully and help others find it. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Former slave worlds had become prosperous democracies. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now trading partners. The galaxy was not perfect. but it was better than it had ever been. In the Human Command Center on Earth, General Kim received reports from around the galaxy. Trade was flourishing, scientific advancement was accelerating, and conflict was at its lowest level in recorded history. The experiment in galactic democracy was succeeding. Any word from the deep space monitors? Kim asked her aide. Still picking up those strange signals from beyond the galaxy, the aide replied. The science teams think they might be artificial. Kim nodded thoughtfully. The signals had first been detected 3 years ago, coming from the dark space between galaxies. They were too regular to be natural phenomena, which suggested they might be communications from another civilization. Keep monitoring, Kim ordered. If someone else is out there, we need to be ready. The possibility of contact with civilizations from other galaxies was both exciting and terrifying. Humanity had learned hard lessons about the dangers of first contact, but they had also learned that cooperation was stronger than conquest. And that lesson would serve them well if the signals proved to be from intelligent sources. Captain Marcus Reed, now retired from active service, sat in his garden on Earth, reading reports from the galaxy. Former coalition worlds were sending him updates on their progress, sharing their successes, and asking for advice on their challenges. He had become something he never expected, a teacher of freedom, a message. Arrived from the world of Kepler 7, where he had once destroyed a coalition supply depot. The planet's new government was asking for help setting up a university system. They wanted to educate their children in the arts of peace instead of war. Reed smiled as he composed his reply. The galaxy was learning, slowly but surely, that there were better ways to live than under the boot of an oppressor. The communication ended with a routine report from the Federation's newest exploration ship. It was a joint mission with crews from 15 different species, exploring uncharted regions of the galaxy. The ship's captain, a human named Roberts, reported the discovery of a habitable world with signs of primitive life. A monitoring station, Roberts had written. We will observe and study, but make no contact until we better understand their development. The Prime Directive protocols are working well. The Prime Directive was humanity's gift to the galaxy. A set of rules about how to interact with primitive civilizations. No interference, no conquest, no forced advancement. Every species would be allowed to develop at its own pace, making its own choices about its future. As the sun set over Earth, Admiral Torres stood on her balcony looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, hundreds of worlds were living in freedom, because humanity had chosen to fight for something better than conquest. The galaxy had indeed picked the wrong planet to poke, but from that mistake had come something beautiful. The human adventure was far from over. Those mysterious signals from beyond the galaxy suggested that greater challenges lay ahead. But whatever came next, the galaxy would face it together, not as conquerors and conquered, but as partners in the great adventure of existence. The revolution that had begun with Earth's defiance had become something larger, a transformation of an entire galaxy from a place of oppression to one of hope. And in that transformation, humanity had found its true purpose among the stars. The galaxy was finally free, and it was beautiful.